Some breaking news now of more and more aid that is being sent using the Indian Air Force planes. The pictures now coming in as part of the ongoing Operation Ganga. The Indian Air Force has deployed 4 C-17 aircraft to supply relief material, evacuate Indian nationals using airfields in Romania, Poland, Hungary due to the ongoing crisis. Those are first pictures coming in of the Indian Air Force putting out the pictures of the 4 C-17 aircraft that will supply relief material and also evacuate Indian nationals. They will use airfields in Romania, Poland, Hungary, and as promised, will be giving humanitarian relief, medical supplies to Ukraine via these three countries, which are Romania, Poland, and Hungary. And some of the students who have been evacuated will also be brought back using the same planes that have been dispatched, 4 C-17 Globemasters. Let me go across straight to our correspondents live from the war zone. Shravan is in Ukraine and Shivani is at the venue where the talks will happen. I'm going across to Shivani first. Shravan, stay with me. Shivani, what's the update? We don't have any update as of this minute on whether the talks are happening. Both sides saying they're open for talks and they're hopeful of talks, but so far no reports of the talks themselves happening.
Shravan, Republic happens to be the only channel to reach the venue of these talks, and these talks, as were being expected today afternoon, have not yet started, or there is no much concrete confirmation on to when these talks will take place, what's the exact location and who will be the delegates when the talks begin. But certainly all eyes were on these talks because they would be the decisive talks for next 24 hours and 48 hours, that whether there will be a ceasefire or the war will continue as it has been intensifying each day since it began 7 days back. And Russian troops have been seen encircling more and more cities in Kyiv, more and more cities in Ukraine, I beg your pardon, as we've been reporting, Shravan has been reporting. While there's a lot of anxiety here where the talks have to take place, and all the places across the border, all the states, European unions, they are also feeling a sense of uneasiness, worry, and they are also not happy about what's happening inside Ukraine. They are calling for the NATO forces, they are calling for the Americans to come and stand in support of Ukraine. While we see there have been a lot of statements, a lot of sermons, and a lot of criticism for Russia, but no concrete action on ground by these Western world. And here, across the border, we've also seen how the Operation Ganga has been intensified by the Indian government. The first C-17 Globemaster will be landing in India late night with 200 students who have been evacuated from Romania. And rest of the C-17 Globemaster are also ready to take on these evacuation missions. But here in the place where the talks have to happen, there is no certainty about these talks, but certainly there were a lot of expectations about these talks because they can only bring ceasefire or truce in the war zone, where we've seen how Russia is getting aggressive each day with more and more civilians, more and more troops from Ukraine also getting killed due to the war. And also how Ukraine has been holding the ground quite strongly. It has been retaliating quite strongly. And there is uncertainty onto when these talks will take place, but whatever we are tracking, we are putting out for our viewers for the first time and exclusively on Republic TV from the very place where these talks have to take place. Back to you, Niranjan.
Okay, going across straight to Shravan, who's in Ukraine and has been reporting on the destruction. We are hearing, Shravan, that several cities have been encircled, some cities already taken over. The city of Kherson, according to reports, and by Russia's own claims, is controlled by Russia now. Kharkiv, facing intense bombing, could also be taken over.
Well, in fact, Niranjan, the latest that I've picked up around 3 o'clock this afternoon of the shelling that has taken place in Cherniv, that is on the northern side, about 200 kilometers away from Kiev, and I'm not very sure, Niranjan, that we've been able to put those images because I've just sent it to our newsroom. And take a look at those images, because those images will tell you how things are just intensifying on the ground, because you have almost all civilian areas now that have come under missile strikes. Drone attacks have also taken place in some areas. That's what the locals claim. We have not been able to independently verify those. But the fact of the matter is that almost starting from the eastern side in Kharkiv, right from day one. In fact, Kharkiv is the worst hit right now, given the fact that from the first day of what Russia calls it a military operation, they've been targeting Kharkiv. But what's becoming even more dangerous on the ground is that you have hospitals that have now come under attack. You've had some areas where the maternity hospital ward have been attacked. Doesn't end there. You have schools and colleges that have come under attack, even though evacuations have taken place in those areas. But it's important to point out here is that there is street fighting that's taking place. When I say street fighting, that essentially means that you have the local Ukrainians now who are trying to stop the Russian army's advancement, especially towards the northeast direction of Kiev. We are being told that there is massive, intense gun battle that has taken place. In fact, various other places. In a short while from now also, Niranjan, we are making an attempt to reach out to some of the locals who are preparing those Molotov cocktails. Those Molotov cocktails are being prepared so that civilians right now can participate in the war and aid and perhaps provide some sort of help to the Ukrainian army in order to stop the advancement of the Russian troop. We've seen how today, on the 7th day of the war, the Russians have also changed their tactic. One, you've utilized the BTGs, that's the battalion tactical groups. Then you also have some areas where the aerial power of the Russian troops have been utilized, and that's going to have some sort of an impact on the ground. Right now, we do not have the consolidated list of the areas that have come under full attack. But what I can tell you from the information that we are also picking up from some of the local news networks here in Ukraine is the fact that areas which were largely considered to be a little safer, those areas have also come under attack. So any city in and around Kiev has been one of the major targets of the Russians. So on the one side, you have Kharkiv, which is constantly coming under shelling from the Russian side. You also have cities which were largely untouched. Today, on the 7th day of this battle, those cities have also come under the attack. As Shivani was pointing out, today there are questions are also being raised about the role that the West is playing. How long perhaps would Americans shoot it from the shoulder of innocent Ukrainians? Because the fact of the matter is that barring some sort of economic sanctions, there's not much that Ukraine has actually received. Even if you talk about military aid, the last big military aid has come in from Germany. In fact, the neighboring countries like Poland, Hungary, they've also not provided the fighter jets that Ukraine was actually expecting. So all that put together, Ukrainians at the end of the day, they're fighting a battle all by themselves. And for what exactly? While they are saying that this all started with the NATO membership, it turns out that that has now become the side. It's taken a back seat. It's in the back burner for the time being. You have had European Union membership, but that's not really going to change the situation right now on the ground, because Ukrainians still say the same thing, that they're not willing to really surrender. Point one. Point two is that they are going to take this battle to the next level, even if the threats that are really coming in from the Russian side, from a nation like Russia, if they actually say, you have the foreign minister of Russia saying that if the Third World War is going to take place, it's going to be a nuclear war. When a statement of that is actually made, then perhaps you can understand what's the condition right now of Kremlin, and how long are they going to make these kind of statements? Many would say that it does not behave very well on the part of a mature nation like Russia at this stage. And of course, for a country like Ukraine, which is a far smaller country, a democratic country, their territorial integrity and their territorial sovereignty is certainly being violated by Russia.